All rise.
The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Please be seated. Good morning and welcome. Court officer, can you please call the case?
Good morning, Your Honors. This is case KAC BC 2020-05, the Specialist Prosecutor versus Salih Mustafa.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Now I kindly ask the parties, the Victims' Counsel and the Registry, to introduce themselves, starting with the Specialist Prosecutor's Office. You have the floor.
Your Honors, everybody, good morning. Today the prosecution is represented by myself, Cezary Michalczuk, prosecutor, Silvia Dascoli, associate prosecutor, Filippo De Minicis, another associate prosecutor, Alex Whiting, deputy specialist prosecutor, and Julie Mann, who is the case manager. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Victims' Counsel, please.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Your Honors. The Victims' Counsel team is represented by Lisbeth Zechfeld, my co-counsel, by Marie-Pierre Barbeau, my senior legal associate, and by myself, Annie Poos.
Thank you, Counsel. And now the defense, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. The defense is being represented by myself, Julius von Bonnet, lead counsel, my co-counsel, Mr. Betim Shala, investigator is Mr. Fatmir Pillai, and as you can see, today the accused is also in the courtroom.
Thank you. For the record, my colleagues for Trial Panel 1 are Judge Roland Dekkers, Judge Gilbert Biti, and Judge Vladimir Mikula, Reserve Judge, and I am Mapiveld Volja, Presiding Judge for Trial Panel 1. Before we continue with the questioning of witness 3593 by the SPO, the panel would like to address Mr. Mustafa. Mr. Mustafa, the panel requested your presence today at the hearing. Yeah. You have the right to remain silent, and such silence cannot be considered in the determination of your innocence or guilt. Yes? Yesterday, you indicated for the second time that you did not want to attend the hearing. Is that correct?
Can I take the floor, Your Honor?
And you can say something.
Yes.
Go
Thank
ahead.
Your Honor. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to take the floor in this courtroom. I just wish to tell you from the beginning that it's not my wish or intention to not respect yourselves or the panel.
Yes, yes, okay.
From the outset, I wish to tell you that it is neither my wish nor my intent to be disregardful of the panel and the parties in this courtroom. Nor is it my intention to disregard and not respect the counsel that is sitting in front of me. Because it is not part of my conviction whatsoever, nor part of my culture to behave like that. But recently, I have suffered a stress And I have to say that the stress is incumbent and is caused because of many other different factors. And I wish to tell you what the problem is right. And upon my children as well. The second reason, during the daytime, I cannot have frequent telephone calls with neither my wife or my children. So, in other words, I don't have access to telephone calls. So there is only a certain moment in time that is assigned to myself to make telephone calls as per the wish of the director of the detention center. For instance, I approximately know the timing of my children when they are available. So I know that my children, so at 12 o'clock at noon or 6 o'clock in the evening, they go to play sports or to take care of their daily activities. Therefore, if I want to talk to my children at 10 o'clock in the morning, so the director will tell me that you can't do that, but you can instead talk to your children at 1 o'clock. But I can't do that because my children are busy at 1 o'clock. So when it comes to the food, I receive the food once a day for the 24 hours of that same day. So this is why I just want to tell you that I feel stressed. So it is very difficult for me to concentrate if I don't have a smoke break. And I have to say that all these things taken together have caused a major stress on myself over the last days or so. So all these are additional burdens, on top of the segregation order that has been released on my behalf from the 20th of August this year. And all these things taken together are aggravating my mental situation. So right now I'm isolated, I'm segregated within the detention facility. I feel myself more relaxed if I attend the hearings through video links. Because it's easier for myself to concentrate better and have a better coverage of all the topics that are covered in this court of law. So through the video conference or the video link, it's easier for me to concentrate, and I believe that it helps me into being better concentrated. Because if I follow the hearings, so through the video conferences or video links, so during the pauses I can take a smoking break, but I can as well eat something. So in a few words, in sum, I have to say that I feel myself more comfortable if you allow me to follow the hearings through the video conferencing network. Therefore, so the failure of myself to be physically present here in the court of law in no way shows disregard and lack of respect. So it should not be understood as lack of respect on my side towards the court and witnesses. There are many witnesses of the prosecution. Therefore, so my absence in the courtroom shall not be permanent. But I believe that some witnesses are more important than other witnesses in the case in question, in my case. Therefore, I'd kindly ask you to understand that my absence in the proceedings is not part of any strategy. I fully understand that it can sound strange to you, but in real truth, I believe that it would be best for me to attend the proceedings through the video conferencing network rather than being physically present here. I will not give a statement that is not under oath. Therefore, what I'm saying today should be considered as a statement that is not given under the oath. That is an unsworn statement. So I'm going to give an unsworn statement in a later phase in the proceedings. In conclusion, if I'm allowed to take part in the proceedings through the video link, I believe that it will be smoother and easier for the proceedings itself as well. I really think that the rigorousness of segregation for practical reasons is being rather counterproductive. So probably you reason that with a further protection and a stronger protection of the witnesses. But first and above all, I am a human being as well. I'm not a robot myself. And this is causing a lot of stress to me. So it's causing a lack of concentration, and I'm feeling myself under ongoing pressure. Therefore, once again, at the end, I'm just telling you that if the court or the Victims' Council has considered my wish for not being present here as a lack of respect or disregard, so once again, I wish to very sincerely and frankly and convincingly tell you that this is not something intended by me. And this is not going to happen in the future either. As I said before, so there are other factors having an impact upon myself, and it is not something that relates to the way on how I behave here and what is happening in this court of law. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Mustafa. This is your trial, so it is important that you give clarification as to the reasons you didn't want to be in the courtroom. Allow me to ask you some further questions. If you would be able to smoke in the court at the premises, would that help your? Would that change your request?
So you're talking about the pauses, right? Of course, it will be much easier for myself, of course.
I see two requests from your side, and one is if you would be permitted to smoke during the breaks at the premises of the KSC when we are having hearings, you would come to the premises. Is that correct?
Your Honor, if possible, I'd ask for the facilitation of my measures, such as, for instance, I would ask for the possibility of speaking with my children during the day when they are available, if at all possible.
I understand that, but my question was another one. Your request is, and we have taken a decision on that, and I have taken now note of it. But my question was if smoking possibilities would facilitate you coming to the premises.
If you see it fit for me to be in the courtroom, I will come.
You say, I now hear you saying that you are requesting for a video link in the at the premises, at the detention facilities. Would you, and you say it's not permanent. I'm trying to make a summary. You would not be permanent there, but you would come to the court hearings. Sometimes you would be coming and sometimes not. Do I understand that well? Yes, I see you nodding.
Exact.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Of course, you would have to give due notice in advance. Do you understand that? If we would decide that.
Yes.
Observations of the SPO and the Victims' Council, but because what we have now had both on Wednesday and yesterday is that from a practical point of view, if you at once disappear, it creates a kind of disorganization for the trial, which I would not like to have every day. Do you understand that?
I understand. I think it was a misunderstanding, and I think that it was a result of the non-recognition of the rules. I mean, I think that that was what it was.
What we noted is yesterday that you would be there in the afternoon, and then we were informed that you were not there. That's what happened, and the same happened on Wednesday. And I repeat to you that that's a way we would not like to proceed.
Your Honor, I lost concentration. I needed some break.
I heard what you have said about the stressful situation you are in. And so that will be a part of our consideration. What I will now do is ask the views of the Specialist Prosecution Office and the Victims' Council with both regard the presence or not, although we have the rules, Rule 68, which is clear on what the rights of the accused are. But I would like to hear your views on that and on the possibility of a video link at the detention facilities, because under the legal framework of the Specialist Chamber, it's not explicitly provided, and then I'm excluding the pre-trial phase, to participate via video link, with the exception of Rule 68, paragraph 6 of the rules, where the panel can make provisions for the accused, or shall make provisions for the accused, to observe the proceedings and instruct specialist counsel from outside the courtroom if the detained accused is not physically fit to follow the proceedings in person in the courtroom. And also when the accused is removed from the courtroom because of disruptive conduct, this obligation for the panel to organize such proceedings applies. But what... Oh. Sorry for that. So yes. But before I give you the floor on that, I first look to Mr. Van Bonnet. Is there, in addition to what your client has just shared with the panel and the parties and the Victims' Council, is there something you would like to add, or do you want to make a formal request with regard to any of the observations your client has made?
Yes, Your Honor, I just want to add once again that it in no means has to be disruptive as we had on Wednesday and yesterday. And in order to smooth that out, I think that the proceedings would really benefit for that. And in an organizational matter, it would benefit the accused for having meals, able to have contact during breaks with maybe family. He can organize that easier in detention, in the detention center, rather than here. Here is just there's no real opportunities for that. So I think it has caused a lot of stress, and indeed, Your Honor, that is what the result is of obviously measures that were taken, and I do not think that once again it will happen with all the witnesses, but as Mr. Mustafa already said, there is some witnesses that he will be present. By the way, what I forgot to say is, in the lunch break, which is usually 1.5 hours, we can have a Zoom meeting with him to have contact with him if we would have any consultations. So organizationally, that would not be any problem at all for us as well. So in that sense, I just want to take that into consideration. And once again, I think that the presence of the accused via video link is an equal presence than being physically present in the courtroom. We had that in pre-trial phases, and at that stage there was no particular problem about that, so I do not think that it would cause any problem as well for that. So that is what I want to add to what Mr. Mustafa said. So basically I would request that if such opportunity is there and possibility is there, I think for the benefit of smooth proceedings, I think it would be a really good to put it in this format. And obviously, we will notify each time, like we did at the pre-trial phase, through a message that he is attending either via video link or that he will be present. I think that concludes my my submission regarding this. And if you take it as a request, then I make it a request.
Thank you, Mr. Van Manet. Before I turn to the Specialist Prosecutor and the Victims' Counsel, I have a question for the registry. Would it be possible to organize not only a video link from the detention facilities, and I was informed that that was possible, but also the possibility to instruct a specialist counsel from here to, to have contact with his client, because I heard Mr. Van Manet saying that he foresaw that possibility, but I would like to have it, to hear it from you what is possible, please.
Thank you, Your Honour. Yes, that can be done with immediate effect. The measure is already in place to allow for counsel to consult with his client from the court to the detention facilities.
Okay, that's clear. Thank you. Specialist Prosecutor, you have the floor if you have observations, if any.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. The most important thing here is that the accused must have facilities to meaningfully participate in the proceedings. And as long as there is a clear record that he will have these meaningful means, whether he's present here or remotely, is of secondary relevance. So we defer to the honorable panel, the decision in this regard, but he must have the right at any point during any session to consult his counsel. He must have means to ask questions to the witnesses if he wishes, and he must have a possibility to be present even if he's not physically present. But as I say, we defer the decision to the court. If there is a decision, and I underline this, if there is a decision to allow the accused to participate remotely, perhaps it would be reasonable to check from time to time whether indeed all those conditions for meaningful participation are indeed met, to check, for example, whether there is a possibility of the contact between the accused and his counsel, whether he could really ask questions, participate in his own defense, just to check it periodically whether those conditions are still in place. Because, as I said before, meaningful participation of the accused is key. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prosecutor. Victims' Counsel, you have the floor.
Yes, Your Honours and Mr. Mustafa, thank you first of all for the explanation of it, which I thought was helpful. Regarding the requests, I think there are two issues here to be addressed. The one is the situation of the accused in detention and during break times, where I think an effort needs to be made to sort out that a smoker can smoke, especially during trial proceedings, although I myself do not smoke, but I think it's not the time to stop or to force someone to go for prolonged periods of time without. Also, things like meals at regular time, not just once a day or so. There were a few issues there where I thought obviously some improvement could be made, which in my view all adds to overall fairness of the proceedings. So that is the one point. The other point is the presence of the accused, and where the law indeed clearly says physical presence is the primary goal, or is the primary purpose of the trial proceedings. However, should this not be possible because concentration is lacking and the conditions, as we have heard now, allow for meaningful participation, then we won't object to this at this time. One last thing, though, would be necessarily notification in advance, also to allow future witnesses to prepare themselves for the situation they will find in the courtroom, and presence or non-presence in a physical manner of the accused can be of key relevance to them. So I ultimately leave it to you, but those are points that I would like to highlight here. Thank you. Apologies, may I just take the floor once more?
We are here to gather as much information as possible to take an informed decision at the end, so please.
There is maybe one more thing which of course relates to any technical errors that might occur. Say if we have a video link, can we, for example, always ensure that where necessary we've got a pixeled appearance of a witness, where here, if there's a physical barrier, this physical barrier is there, those kind of things. Is there a clear monitoring system in place to ensure that there are no technical flaws? Because I think we all know by now that IT systems are fragile, and we at least have experienced quite a number of issues along the way, which weren't in anybody's fault, but just a matter of technique that needs to be taken into account. Thank you.
Thank you for that observation. I think I can say that the court does its utmost and is doing its utmost to assure that. Okay, what now we have exchanged all of your oral submissions on this point. Is there any? I see your finger. You're asking for the floor, Mr. Van Bonnet, please.
Lastly, indeed, my client is a heavy smoker, obviously, and he can smoke during sessions that we have on Zoom with him, but obviously he will not smoke during court sessions, to clarify that.
Okay, thank you for that, but
it is just
I trusted that he would not do that,
no,
I can assure you.
It's the practicalities, I think, they will work out well. I mean, as they have until now, they work out fine, so I trust that will be taken into account, the technicalities of the implementation of such a video link. So I do not foresee any trouble with that.
Okay. We have now been exchanging, you have been exchanging your views here in court orally. Is there any need to ask also for written submissions in this regard, or has already enough been able to take the floor to express what needed to be submitted. I'm looking at the specialist prosecutor, the victims counsel, Mr. Van Bonnet. No, not now. We will be taking a decision, and we will do that as soon as possible. And it can be in writing, but it can also be an oral order. We will reflect on that. What I now would like to do is to continue with the hearing and with the examination of the witness, and we proceed as we had scheduled for today. Yes, I see. Okay, let us now revert to the testimony of witness 3593. And what I will do is go back into open session. Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Could we please, I see you on the phone, go into open session.
Your Honours, we're back in open session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Now, let us now revert to the testimony of witness 3593. Can we please usher the witness into the courtroom? Thank you.
Microphone, please.
Mr. Witness, good morning and welcome back. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm okay, thank you. Yes.
Very well, Mr. Witness. Now I will give the floor to the Specialist Prosecution Office, which will complete its questioning. And let me remind you, Mr. Witness, that you are still under oath. to tell the truth. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Mr. Prosecutor, you have the floor. You have 3 hours and 40 minutes left from your estimated 7 hours.
Thank you, Your Honors. Good morning, Mr. Witness.
Good morning.
Follow-up questions, as we call them, that relate to some parts of your testimony that you gave yesterday. Skifterat? and the accused.
Of course, the accused was with Skifterat.
I understand that the accused was with Skifterat, but to your understanding, what was Skifterat?
At the time, I didn't know. Later on, I heard that those there were Skifterat.
Could you clarify, because you said those there were with Skifterat, or were Skifterat. What are you referring to? To which place, which moment, which time?
At the location where I was, I later heard that those there were Skifterat, and even today I don't know what Skifterat were.
You said that those there were Skifterat. Are you talking about the place in Slash where you were held? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Let me ask you this question. Was Skifterat any sort of unit, if you know that?
I don't know what they were.
Okay, let's move on then. Mr. Witness, I would like to show you a certain photograph. Madam Court Officer, this photograph can be also shown to the public. This photograph is within the following ERN range: SPOE 00128-386 to 001-8420. So this is the range. And the photograph I'm going to show bears the following ERN number: SPOE 001-8388. And could we show that photo to the witness? Can the witness see this photograph? I don't have it in front of me, so that's why I'm asking. This is tab 14 for just to facilitate the defense counsel to find it. I can see that now. Yes, this is the photograph. Mr. Witness, do you have this photograph in front of you?
Yes.
What does this photograph depict?
Say again, please.
Show.
I think it's the location where they handled me, there in the basement.
So does it depict the place in Slash when you were held? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Could you tell the court in which building, because on this photograph we clearly have 3 buildings. The tallest one, the adjacent to it, which is a bit lower, and there is the third one, which is black or dark in color. So my question is, could you tell the court in which building you were held?
The one on 2 floors, there's a basement beneath, and that's where I stayed.
Are you referring to the tallest building on the right-hand side of this photograph? Is that the one?
Yes.
So you're saying that you were held in the basement of this building. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Thus, that from the place where you were held, together with other detainees, you could hear upstairs screams of people. Could you tell the court whether this upstairs is also on this building, this place where you heard those screams from?
To tell you the truth, I think that's the location. As I said, I couldn't see because my eyes were covered, but it is most probably that.
Your Honors, I would like to show the witness another photograph, but this time, if I could kindly ask Madam Court Officer not to show it to the public. And this would be the photograph number 100968. And let me find you very quickly the full ERN range. Yes, the full ERN range is 100-966-100-969. For the defense, this is tab number 12. And I would like to show just to the witness and everybody present in this courtroom just this photograph that I mentioned before, and the ERN number is 100-968. Yes, this is the one. Mr. Witness, can you see that photograph?
Yes.
Photograph is the same photograph, or is the same photograph. However, there are some differences. Can you see your signature there on this photograph?
Yes.
There are some circles. We can see the big circle. The line is blue. Do you remember that you yourself drew that circle?
Yes.
So, what is that encircled building? Could you say that again?
I already told you. This is the place where I was mistreated and where I was kept in the basement.
Very much. There is also a smaller circle. I don't know whether you can see that. There is a small circle. There is the tallest building, and you have this smaller circle at the verge of this building in the lower part on the left-hand side. Can you see that circle?
No.
The photograph. I know that this circle is marked with a blue marker, and it might not be seen very, very well. So after having enlarged that photograph, Mr. Witness, can you see the circle, the smaller one?
Yes.
What is encircled there?
This is the door to the place where I was mistreated.
Tell us about the day when you were released. Were you released through that door? Do you remember that?
No.
So you don't remember, or you were not released through that door? What is your answer?
We were not allowed to look. They just showed us the door and said, "Get out of here, go wherever you can."
I would like to also show you another photograph. I would like to show you another photograph, and the number of this photograph for the record would be SITF 000-72231. But we should not broadcast it to the public, just to the witness and everybody in the courtroom. Tab number 9. Mr. Witness, can you see that photograph?
Yes.
Recognize your signature there.
Yes.
Your Honor, this is the same photograph taken at the same time. However, it was shown to the witness during another interview. Mr. Witness, can you see that sketch in front of you?
Yes.
Do you see your signature underneath?
Yes.
Can you tell the court what does this sketch show?
To tell the truth, a very long period of time has passed by, and I have forgotten. I do not know. It's normal that that's the house, but I don't know. So there is the door there, and I think that I tried to do that, to make the sketch that way.
On this sketch, there is number 2 above, a little bit above. And there is also, and this on the left-hand side of it, we've got a certain square divided into 2 parts. The upper part has got number 2, and there is also the lower part. Do you remember what those parts represent, the upper part and the lower part of that sketch?
I have tried to show that I have stayed in the lower part and that in the upper part there was another room.
The other room, because on this sketch, it's written in English that it was the room for beating, and on the other one it says stable. Is that what the sketch is indeed showing? That there was a room used for beatings above and the stable in the lower?
Yes. So we were staying in the lower part, whereas the soldiers, the police, the army, I don't know what they were staying in the upper part.
I would like to show you yet another drawing. It's going to be the last drawing, and I'm thanking Your Honors for your patience. Maybe I'm taking too much time, but we need to explore this. Could we show the witness another drawing, and the number of it would be 061014. And let me quickly find the range. It's the same one as before, from 061012 to 061015, and the tab would be, as previously, number 11. Again, I would like to show it only to the witness. Mr. Witness, can you see your signature under this drawing?
Yes.
Remember making that drawing yourself?
Yes.
It's got, as you can see, 2 parts, and I would like you to comment on those. On the right-hand side, you mentioned somebody's name. What is that name? Could you tell the court?
Yes, this was a commander of the KLA. Sopje. Fatmir Sopje.
Any questions about that person? I would like to comment I would like you to comment on the other side, on the other part of this sketch. What name do we have on that other left-hand side of this sketch?
I do not know. I do not recall.
This drawing contains a number of elements, so let me draw your attention to the left-hand side of it. I'm talking about the bottom of that drawing, bottom left. What name did you put there?
I do not remember. I can't remember.
Not remember, however, as you said, it is your drawing, and on the left-hand side, bottom left-hand side, there is a name stated there. And could you, for the record, tell the court what name you put there when you made that drawing?
Yes, I understand. This is the name of the accused. So I refuse to mention his name. I said that yesterday as well, and I don't want to ever mention his name in my life.
Looking at the drawing, you divided the drawing into two parts. One, on the right-hand side, you said Fatim Risopi. On the other side, there is, as you put it, the accused. What does this drawing represent? Could you tell the court?
This drawing, at the time that I gave the statement, the declaration, so these two places are about 1 kilometer away from one another. On the right-hand side, it was the army, whereas here was the military police.
Your Honors, I would need a second for a very short consultation.
Please, go ahead.
I don't have any questions on this particular drawing. I have some more questions about some other things that relate to the outcome of the stay in Slash on the health of the witness. And I have a line of questions, and I'm also looking at Your Honors and at the clock.
Yes. Before you enter into that, Mr. Prosecutor, we could also, you were asking some questions, we could also go into private session and you could reassure the witness in this regard. I leave it up to you, but I offer it to you as a possibility.
Your Honor, so I would kindly request to go into private session, but for a very, very brief moment, just to address one or two issues, and then we'll go back into open session.
Okay. Madam Court Officer, Could you please revert us to private session, please?
Your Honours, we're now in private session.
Thank you. Mr. Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honours. Mr. Witness, coming back very shortly to that drawing, and I would like to assure you that right now we are in a private session. Nobody can see you, nobody can hear you. Only people in this courtroom can. And you can feel safe, and nothing you will say will leak from this courtroom. Do you understand that?
All rise. All rise.
Please be seated. Welcome back. Welcome back. We resume the testimony of witness 3593, and we will do that, and I look at the specialist prosecutor, we will do that in private session. Am I right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Court usher, could you please, Madam Court Officer, ask for a private session?
We're in private session, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Court usher, can you please bring the witness back to the courtroom?
Your Honor, just before the witness comes out, I would like to give a notice that we will finish today with our questionings. I mean, we'll finish within this short session before lunch.
Ah, okay, very well.
This is our intention, at least, Your Honor.
I understand. Thank you. Welcome back, Mr. Witness. Before I
Thank you.
the floor to the specialist prosecutor office again, I first want to say the following. This morning I did not formally register the presence of the registry. For the record, we have registered it now that you, Mr. Rush, are present here. And looking at the compositions of the different teams, I see the same faces. Yes, okay, very well. Okay, Mr. Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Mr. Witness, can we continue? I've got just a few
Your Honours, we are now in open session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. We completed the questioning by witness 3593 by the SPO. And now we will continue with the questioning by the Victims' Counsel. You have 1 hour and 5 minutes, according to our decision on the conduct of proceedings. And I give you now the floor. Please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honours. And thank you, Mr. Witness. I apologize, actually, that I have to follow up with questions after you've already provided us with so much information. I really do appreciate that. And for us lawyers, and actually for the whole court, it is important to hear everything in a lot of detail. So please be patient with us. And again, I'm sorry it takes so long. I will ask you questions that will hopefully help us better understand how the crimes have changed your life. But before starting those questions, Your Honours, I would like to ask that we move back into private session for the entirety of my questioning, because the questions refer to circumstances that are so private and that provide so much information that could potentially be identifiable, that I deem it the right thing to do.
Thank you, Victims' Counsel. Madam Court Officer, could you please revert us to a private session?
Okay, thank you very much.
Your Honours, we're back in open session.
Thank you. Thank you, Victims' Counsel, for the questioning. I now turn to the defense and Mr. Van Bonnet. It's now the time for you to question the witness. Do you have a preference to start right away, or do you prefer to take some time and then after lunch start with it?
Your Honor, thank you very much. I think we would rather start after lunch.
Okay.
Yeah. I would just want to ask one thing briefly to mine. Yes, Your Honor. I'd rather say this now than in a later stage. And even if there has no been any ruling on the request that I previously did this morning regarding the issues concerning Mr. Mustafa and his presence at the in the courtroom, I envisage that I would ask during the break again that he would rather go back to the detention center. And I ask that now, as I do not wish to do that, to interrupt. And I would say, it's better to do that now than at the later stage.
Yes.
Because then we get the whole, we have to go through the same motions again, so to speak. And I would not like to do that. So my question would be whether it would be possible if Mr. Mustafa would go back to the detention center, even during the questioning of myself.
Could you talk a little bit louder?
Yes.
Or maybe the microphone, yeah?
I have some trouble too with the microphone sometimes, and but my question is actually, as I said this morning earlier, we started with this situation regarding Mr. Mustafa, and that he would rather be going back to the detention center as he has a lot of difficulties and stress from a lot of factors. We have discussed that this morning, but as I did yesterday, I did that during the lunch break. I rather do this, I bring up the subject now rather than doing during the lunch break this, and then we would start later again. So that's why I'm asking now whether that would be made possible without that there is any particular ruling on the issue that we discussed this morning in general terms. There was clearly something that was requested, but just for the afternoon session that it is clear that Mr. Mustafa could return then to the detention center.
Good.
Is my question clear?
Your question is very clear, and if you would not have put that question to us, I would have
just a minute, please.
I would have put the question to you.
I'm sorry. Oh. Can somebody help me with the microphone? Because this machine, I don't hear anything here. Maybe I change it. There we are again. So now I hear something. Okay, so that was the question I had.
If you would not have informed the panel by yourself, it would have been my question, of course, to see where we stand on this point. because we are now entering into this discussion, what I want to do is because I've heard what you said, that you want to start after the lunch break, what I want to do is to tell Mr. Witness, thank you for answering the questions this morning. You may now leave, and we will expect you back at 2:30. Yes? Okay. Yes, you may usher the witness out. Thank you. I saw the hand raised by the Specialist Prosecutor's Office. Please, Mr. Prosecutor.
Your Honors, my point is a little bit moot now, but I would kindly ask that if such issues of the defendant being, the accused being present or absent, the reasons for that, be rather discussed not in the presence of the witness. But right now, as I said, this point is moot because he's gone and we have discussed this issue. But for future reference, maybe if you have such matters and it might pop up tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, perhaps the witness should not be privy to those exchanges between us and discussions in court. Thank you.
We noted that, Mr. Prosecutor. Yes. We will deliberate during the break, and till that moment, Mr. Mustafa cannot leave yet. And after the break, we will come back, and then I will tell you how we're going to proceed. For the record, I want to mention something I mentioned in the private session, and that was the presence of the registry. I said that in the private session, but it should be on record, of course, in the public transcript. So the registry is present. And I also want to mention in the public session that the composition of all the persons present this morning has not changed. We will have today a lunch break, a little bit longer than normal. We will resume, or we will adjourn now, and then we will resume our session at 2:30 at the normal time. The hearing is adjourned.
All rise.
Please be seated. Welcome back. I don't see any changes in the composition at my right-hand side. And of course, I do see a change not in the composition of the defense team, but Mr. Mustafa is not here anymore. We have started with a little delay, and I understood that had been explained to you. Who is raising his hand?
The accused. Maybe he wants something to say.
Mr. Mustafa, welcome to you too. You raised your hand.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Raised your hand. Did you want to say something?
You just said, Your Honor, that I was not present, and I just wanted to let you know that I'm following the proceedings.
Mr. Mustafa, I was mentioning the people in the courtroom. So I see that you are present, and I was informed that you are present through video conference, but I meant in the courtroom. I will now give an oral order on the issue we discussed this morning with regard to the presence of the accused at the proceedings in this courtroom. The panel notes the submissions of Mr. Mustafa, who request leave to follow the trial proceedings from the specialist chamber detention facilities via video link in order to avoid decreases in his level of concentration due to reasons expressed this morning in private session. The panel further notes the registry submission that video link, including a direct line of communication with Mr. Mustafa's counsel in the courtroom, may be set up and is set up now from the specialist chambers detention facilities so as to enable Mr. Mustafa to follow the trial proceedings and instruct his counsel remotely. At the outset, the panel recalls that Rule 68, paragraph 1 of the rules establishes a presumption in favor of the presence of the accused at trial, which is reflected in the right of the accused to be tried in his presence under Article 21, paragraph 4e of the law. The panel further recalls that participation via video link from the detention facilities or from within the premises of the specialist chambers is, in principle, only allowed in the circumstances provided for under Rule 61, paragraph 2 and Rule 68, paragraph 6 of the rules. Namely, following the removal of the accused from the courtroom on account of his disruptive behavior or when the accused is not physically fit to be present at the proceedings. However, pursuant to Article 40, paragraph 2 of the law and Rule 116, paragraph 1 of the rules, the panel has the power to adopt such procedures and modalities as are necessary to facilitate the fair and expeditious conduct of the trial proceedings. The panel considers that the current situation whereby Mr. Mustafa, with little or no notice, wishes to be absent himself from the proceedings has an impact on the expeditious conduct of the trial. The panel further considers that participation through video link from the detention facilities does not prejudice Mr. Mustafa, insofar as he will be able to follow the proceedings and communicate with counsel, who will be present in the courtroom. This will allow Mr. Mustafa, as stated by his counsel, to have a meaningful participation as if he was physically present in the courtroom and to instruct counsel when needed. This is without prejudice to the right of Mr. Mustafa to attend in person any hearing if he wishes to do so, and the power of the panel to order Mr. Mustafa to attend in person any hearing where the panel considers his physical presence necessary or when the rules impose such a presence. See example for the pronouncement of the trial judgment in Rule 159. Accordingly, the panel authorizes Mr. Mustafa to attend the remainder of the trial proceedings remotely from the specialist chambers detention facilities and orders the registrar to make necessary arrangements to set up video link and a direct line of communication between Mr. Mustafa and counsel in the courtroom. In addition, the panel orders the defense to inform the panel, the SPO and victims counsel via email through court management unit whether Mr. Mustafa intends from now on to be physically present in the courtroom, at least 1 day prior to each hearing, including if it is on a Sunday for the next day. This concludes the oral order. Have you understood, Mr. Mustafa? I see you nodding.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Then we proceed. We completed the questioning by the SPO and by the Victims' Counsel. Now I address Defense Counsel, Mr. von Bonnet. In accordance with our decision on the conduct of proceedings and the time effectively used by the SPO for its questioning, you have 2 hours and 10 minutes for the witness cross-examination. Court usher, can we please bring the witness back? Thank you.
Microphone for Your Honor, please.
You've had a good break. Did you have a good break?
Yes.
now that the victim counsel has concluded her questioning, it's the turn of the defense to ask questions to you. We have started an hour later. It's now 3:30. And I also now look to all the parties and the Victims' Council. We will continue till 4 o'clock, or a little bit if the line of question asks for it. And then we will proceed, if necessary, tomorrow. Yeah. Good. Please, Defense Counsel, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. Mr. Witness, do you recall the date that you were arrested?
No.
And do you recall the date that you were released?
I know only one date, which is the 18th, but I don't know the month.
Mr. Witness, you say the 18th. Could you explain to what do you relate that date, the date of the 18th? To what do you relate that?
On the 18th was the day of the offensive. That's how I related. I know it.
And which offensive exactly was that?
The Serb offensive.
In which particular area precisely was that offense?
In Slush. The offensive was in Slush that day on the 18th, and that's when we were released. They released us because of the offensive.
Did you see anything of that offensive yourself with your own eyes?
I did, because we were released. They said to us, run wherever you can, because the offensive is approaching. And this is how I know.
And from where was that offensive approaching?
I don't know from where the offensive was approaching, but when we went outside, they said to us, run, because it's a huge offensive and we ourselves do not know where to run to.
Did you see with your own eyes any enemy forces coming to Slash on that day that you were released?
No.
So you went away from Slash on that day, and you did not see any of the offensive. Is that correct?
No, we left Slush. We went to the main road, and there were Serbian police vehicles, tanks as well.
What kind of police vehicles were that?
Green, camouflaged in color. You could tell that they were not vehicles of the KLA.
What was the difference between the vehicles of the KLA and those military police vehicles from the enemy forces?
The KLA had a few vehicles, poor vehicles, and Serbian had strong vehicles, heavy military vehicles, all sorts of equipment.
Was it unusual in that period of time to see Serbian armed vehicles, army vehicles?
It was not unusual, but we could see where they were heading to. At the main road, they stopped, and that's where there was a lot of movement on their side of those military or police vehicles, whatever they were.
Did any of these vehicles or the people who were in those vehicles ever threaten you or make any offensive to you?
To me personally, no.
How long did it take you to walk to the place where you first saw those vehicles?
About 2.5 hours on foot.
in the location where you were living and where you were born, was there a KLA presence in that location?
Yes.
And that KLA presence, could you describe that for us?
At the time of my arrest, they were mostly in civilian clothes and rarely with KLA uniforms.
Rarely in KLA uniforms, you say? But how would those KLA uniforms look like, Mr. Witness?
We could recognize them. They had their uniforms, camouflage uniforms. They had the insignia, the emblem, where you could read KLA, so we knew them.
How did that insignia look like from the KLA?
Red as your shirt and with in black letters KLA.
The people who arrested you, they told you that they were from the military police. Did they wear the same clothes or did they wear different clothes than the KLA uniforms?
They had the usual KLA uniforms.
But nevertheless, you said you were told that they were from the military police. Is that correct?
Yes, they introduced themselves as military police. Of course, I saw their uniform, I believed them, and they said to me, you have to come with us to Slash, we just want to talk to you. I thought that they were just going to talk with me.
Did you have any reason to doubt that these people were from the military police?
No.
Much, Mr. Witness. Now, you said when you were arrested, you were going first on foot. And then at some point, you were taken into a car. Is that correct?
Yes.
And from the moment that you were taken into the car, you told us that you got a bag over your head. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could you see anything?
No.
Could you tell us how you were able to determine in which direction you were going?
Mr. Lawyer, you asked me earlier, and I told you, I was told by those persons that we are going to Slash to talk. And of course, This is how I know where I was heading to.
So it was based on the information of the people that took you. Can describe what you mean when you say slash.
You saw slash on the photographs that were shown. You saw how many houses were there. There were no people. These were old houses, usually where animals were kept. It's not a big location. It's quite small.
But is that the only location that you call slash?
It's the only location.
Mr. Witness, when you arrived in Slash with the car, did you have all the way from the moment that you entered the car until the end the black bag over your head?
Yes.
And how long did that trip take you, about, approximately?
More or less 20, 30 minutes by car, not more than that.
Is it correct that when you entered the barn in which you were first pushed into, that it was only then that the black bag was removed from your head?
Yes. I mentioned it before. When I entered the car, he hit me with a fist on my mouth I started bleeding, and then immediately he put the black sack over my head.
And who is he that did that?
The person with the red hat.
Was that not the person who was driving the car? The person with the red hat?
No, someone else was driving the car. The one with the red hat was seated together with me.
And the two persons that arrested you, they were also in the car. Where were they seated?
I was in the middle. They were on my sides, one on one side and the other on the other side.
No.
Nothing at all?
Say it again, please.
Description no.
Nothing at all, because he was sitting. And I only saw the shoulder, and I saw the red hat, and I didn't see the face. I didn't have the time to see the face.
At some point you arrived in Salih and you were pushed into a stable, or a barn. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And then you did not stay in that first barn for a very long time. Is that correct?
I was there for about 1 hour, an hour and a half approximately.
And then you told us that you were going into another barn, but I want to stay to this first barn with you. In that barn, was there anybody in that first barn?
Yes.
Do not need to mention the person.
Can I say the name? Do you want me to say the name?
Don't say the name. We are in public session.
And is that the only person that you saw there? Is that the only person? There was only one person there.
Only one person was there.
And later on, you were taken to another barn. Okay. But I want to stay in the first barn. That first barn, could you stand there, straight up?
I sat down. There were some logs, there were some things where you could sit down.
And how about the ceiling? Could you touch that with your hand or not?
No.
You moved to another barn together with that first person that you saw, that one person that you saw. Is that correct? Without mentioning the name.
No, he stood there, whereas they came and took me. So it was 2 or 3 persons, I don't exactly recall, but those people dragged me. They didn't allow me to walk, but they dragged me to the other place.
With that other person?
No, he remained there, he stood there.
You went to the second barn. Could you describe that barn for us? Just the physical description of this.
It was some sort of place. There were no walls, but there was just a cover, and I don't know anything else because it was dark and I didn't see a thing. I didn't see anything at all.
Do you recall whether it was already evening when you had arrived in that place?
How can't I understand? It was in the evening sometime. I didn't exactly know what the time was because I didn't have a watch. It was dark, but yes, it was in the evening.
And was it dark there in that second barn?
Yes.
Electric light?
I do not know. I do not know whether they have electricity or not, but it was dark.
Was there a window?
No, it was not closed. It had a peak. It was open. And this is what I remember because I couldn't see. I didn't know where I was. I could not see.
And that second barn, could you touch the ceiling with your hand?
I do not understand. I'm not following you.
Where you were taken. As far as size is concerned, was that a high ceiling? Could you touch it with your hands? Or if you would jump, would you be able to touch the ceiling?
I couldn't see the roof. It was dark. They didn't allow me to see, so I didn't see the roof at all.
You say you stayed there for 18 days. Is that correct? It was on the same day that you had arrived in Salih when you were moved from the first barn to the second barn. It was the same day. You said stayed 1 hour in the first barn, then I go to the second barn. It was on the same day, correct?
Yes, that day I was sent to the first barn. I spent about 1 hour and an hour and a half there. And I was sent to the other place where I was beaten up. They brought me back the same night. I don't know what the time was back then. I was beaten up for about 5-6 hours approximately. And they brought me back to the barn where that other person was remained.
When you were kept in that barn during your entire stay in Salih, you told us that you would not get everyday food. Is that correct?
I don't know whether they didn't have any bread or on whether they didn't give us any bread deliberately.
But it was not a regular moment in the day that you would get something to eat. That is what I'm trying to ask.
We would forget when we would eat because 2 or 3 days would go by without us having anything to eat at all.
You said you had no watch. Did anybody else in that barn where you were staying have a watch?
No, it's a mistake. No, I didn't have a watch. I used to have a watch before I went there, but they took the watch away from me.
But my question was anybody else having a watch there?
No, not at all. There was no watch, nothing.
Was it cold in the time that you were there?
Yes, very cold.
Was it colder than usual? Is it
It was very cold.
freezing?
No, it was not freezing.
And would there be days that it would be raining?
I couldn't see him. I don't know. I can't recall. I don't remember.
How could you keep track of the days?
I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what day of the week it was, and I didn't know what time it was up until the 18th. I didn't know any of the things I mentioned before.
Your Honor, this is the best moment to stop. Otherwise, I would go into private session, and then I don't think that we would finish early, because I think it's the most logical moment then to stop at this moment, actually. If I go further, I know that we have 5 minutes left, but I mean, it makes no sense, because we would go into private session for quite a while.
Thank you, Council, for keeping track of that also. Good. Then it's almost 4 o'clock, and therefore the end of the day in court. We will continue with questioning you, Mr. Witness, tomorrow morning. That will be done by the defense. Mr. Witness, thank you very much for your testimony of today. Yeah, let me remind you that until tomorrow morning, you shall not discuss your testimony with anyone. Yeah. Okay, I see you nodding no, so you have understood that. You will be assisted by the registry staff now. Try to rest, and we will see you again tomorrow morning. Is that clear for you? Yes? I see you nodding. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Witness. Could you please, court officer, assist the witness in leaving the courtroom? Okay. Do the parties and the victim counsel have anything to raise?
No submissions, Your Honor, on the part of the prosecution.
Thank you very much. Victims counsel?
No submissions either, thanks.
Thank you.
Just how much time did I use, Your Honor?
I'm sure I will be informed very quickly about this.
37 minutes and 51 seconds.
Okay. Excuse me. 37 minutes and 51 seconds. How precise can we be? Good. no submissions further. We will resume tomorrow morning. I thank the parties and the Victims' Council and the registry for their attendance. I also wish to thank, like every day we do that, the interpreters for their work, the stenographer and the audiovisual booth and the security personnel for their assistance today. The hearing is adjourned. We meet each other tomorrow at 9:30.
All rise.